How
because I
about
kept
now?
100, even I kept
Better?
100% volume.
Is it better now?
No,
Still, it is the same, right?
same.
Okay. All right. I'm just logging into the application right now. You must have received the new password.
Correct.
All right. So I'm now going to share. So yesterday what we had done was we had created the customer. We saw for a customer what are the things that are needed for defining the customer. We looked at the account of the customer, the site address, the site purposes, and then we also saw when we are creating a transaction where the customer is popping up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, customer creation is part of the what we call as the party. So whenever a customer is created, customer, supplier, banks, all they are part of the party architecture. When we say party, party means it's a level above the customer where
Figure your volume is going down.
uh,
It's hardly, I'm finding very difficult to,
is it my volume here is 100%, speakers is 100%. So what else could be wrong? Today it has been raining here, so the fan is also off. So there is no background noise. Don't know why the sound is coming so low. And if I do a test also, in the
no, it
test
is very
mode,
feeble what you're talking now.
what I was saying is today there is rainfall here, so the sound is also there's no fan also, so there's no background noise. So this is 100% because whatever microphone. Speakers is 100%. Microphone.
Are you using headset, Saurabh?
Yeah.
Okay, what about the volume there? Level of volume level?
No, this is a USB one. It doesn't have a volume for the sound here. Let me increase this to 100%. Is this better now?
Yeah, comparatively better, correct.
Okay. All right. I'll also try to speak up so that there's no
Yeah,
issues.
this is better.
Okay. So today we will be seeing how we enter transactions, how we create transactions in the system relating to the customer. And like I was telling you, customer for a customer is part of the trading community architecture, as it is called, where we have parties. So customer is a party. The party is related to the different entities that we have talked about. For example, the customer and the supplier, they might be the same. The supplier may be selling goods to us. The final goods product that we are selling may be purchased by the supplier as well for his consumption. So the supplier can become my customer as well, right? So in this way, these entities can be related between themselves, supplier or your banks, and banks can become your customer. And so in that case, that it is essential to have a relationship between them, which earlier, before TCA was introduced, it could not be done. Now in Fusion, they have included the TCA solution right from the beginning, whereas in the earlier days, before in e-business suite and all, when there was no TCA, there was customer, there was supplier, there were two different entities. It was very difficult to interlink them. In TCA architecture, as a party, it is possible to know that the same entity is doing relationship as a customer and as a supplier as well. Okay. So through these, we try and keep track of the transactions that the customer is going doing. So under billing, when we get into billing, under the tasks, we have all these transactions, accounting, customer account balances, and customers. So when we created a new customer, for that customer, we can create a new transaction. So we'll say create transaction. Now for a transaction, yesterday we have talked about this. There are three levels here. This is the header information right at the top that you see here, starting from transaction class down to the customer details. Then from the next section, you have the invoice lines. So this is one table which holds the data, RA customer TRX all. And then invoice lines is RA customer TRX lines all, which has all the line details. What are the transaction details? Okay. So first thing to choose is what transaction you're doing. This transaction class, as we mentioned, as we discussed yesterday, is one of the seeded setups provided by Oracle. So when we say invoice, invoice is something that we are selling to our customers, for which we are going to generate. It's part of my business. It's something related to a service or a product that I am selling to the customer. Transaction type is the invoice. I could have other transactions also related to this transaction class. You will find all of these are invoices. Okay, but they might be for different purposes.
These values are Oracle provided or
Transaction type is what we can create.
okay,
Couple
not
of
so.
them will be there, but
Mhm.
something beyond, anything beyond that, we can create as per our need.
But transaction class we cannot create new.
Correct. Correct. So I'm going to create a new transaction. Bill to customer.
This screen is almost replica of the payable screen, right?
Similar.
Similar, because where we receive from the supplier, here we are going to give to the customer.
Correct. Correct.
But also we can create an sorry to go back.
Yeah.
Also we can create an login for the supplier also, right? To access our system, and he can create his own invoice. Can you do
Yes.
that?
Yes. You can.
In that case, approval should go all the things. We have to define
Correct.
a criteria, right?
Exactly. So typically it is when customer, when the supplier or the customer, you can give it to the customer also. Um, they can come in and see their outstanding orders and their payment dues or their invoices. So
In that case,
correct.
the approvals will be role based because it cannot be employee based because customer will not have an employee ID.
Right.
So for this AR, what are the prerequisites? What are the setups required? We never
We'll,
covered that, right?
no, we'll come to that. After we do the transaction, we'll come to setup.
Okay.
So here's one customer that we can look at, fit and fine equipment. So, okay, and we pick up their ship to site as well. So we have completed our header part of it with the payment terms. Okay, the payment terms could be linked to the customer, so the default one will get picked up. So here, this item, it could be a finished goods item. In that case, you will get it from your inventory item master. Santosh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this finished goods could be from the item. So because of which you can get it from the inventory also, or it could be a straightforward description that you're selling. Okay.
So this
And
item is in a list of values, right?
yes, yes.
So what is the criteria for item available here to available here?
It has to be defined in the inventory for it to be available here. The
Uh,
any item that you're selling,
it does not have any status, nothing, right?
right? Now, this memo line that you see here, this is a straightforward list that also you can maintain for your purpose. Like maybe you don't have items, you're not selling items, you're selling services. In that case, you could have a straightforward list of services that you're selling along with their price and things maintained. So once you maintain this, how much quantity you have to mention, and you get the total
No, no,
amount.
it just means that what happened to the item? Item went blank.
No, I'm saying you could either sell an item or you could sell a service.
Okay.
Here
So,
only description is mandatory. Item is not mandatory.
oh, then how it will pick up? Because most of the things code will be the easy one to pick up, right? For
Yeah,
in,
but what if you are not selling any item?
mm-hmm.
You may be selling
Like
services.
it will have some code, right? No, not really.
Not necessary always. No? You may not have implemented inventory at all.
Mm-hmm.
You may just directly enter the item description. You can put it in description. That's why they have the description as mandatory. Suppose you're doing an interface, okay, with your where order management system. and you can bring your invoice from there. So whatever service or product you're selling, you can just put it in the description here.
So as soon as I put the description, that will go blank, is it? The item field.
Yes, you can either enter this, or you may either enter this or this, but
Okay.
description is mandatory.
So if I directly enter the description, that will go blank. So if I want to edit, I cannot edit. I can only delete and create a new thing, is it?
Correct.
For example, by mistake, I choose the description first instead of, though I have a item code.
Actually, the item is linked to your this. You may have, see, when once I
Okay,
cleared this memo line, it becomes again enabled.
got it.
So suppose I have this, I want ambulance fee. The price changes here.
The memo line can be defined any
Yes.
type.
Yes, it is a list that we can maintain in receivables.
Okay, not the Oracle defined.
Right. So we have, let's say 50 days, 50 days of, 50 quantity of ambulance fee, and the total comes out to be this much. And as this is the line amount, you will see at the top, this line amount gets populated. So this part of it is a bit different from payables. If you remember, in payables, we had to manually enter the header amount. If there is a mismatch, after the tax was getting calculated, we had to go back and correct it.
Correct.
Here, system takes care of this by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So here, moment a tax is calculated, system will update the tax line and generate the total also.
In our case, we don't have tax.
We'll have to see this. Right now, we are not manually doing it. So depending on the setup, the tax might get calculated also. See, the tax got
Okay.
calculated. And the total amount is now 4078. So if you want to see the tax, you click on the tax determinants here. You will see this is the sales transaction. And
There we
this
were
is the
supposed, we used to add a separate line like a tax item, right? Manually we
no,
should add.
no. There also we can. It was getting automatically calculated.
Okay.
Only thing that was not happening there was the line and the tax was not getting added together and put on the header.
Header.
Here the total is being put on the header. So we don't have to go and update in the header. Got it?
Got it.
And based on this, once you're done, the other thing that we have to do is there is a status here on the invoice. Okay. Status here is incomplete by default when you start entering. After you have entered all the details, you should complete the transaction. Complete means that is when the customer's outstanding gets hit. Till then, the customer's outstanding does not get hit. That means an invoice doesn't show up in his account. It will only show up when you complete it.
So when you say complete, you get the invoice number.
Yeah. So I say complete. The invoice transaction number was already there. The status will change to complete.
Okay. Now this will be available to generate the accounting lines.
Yes. Now see, we have these. We can do account in draft. You can view the accounting. So the accounting here in this case is receivable account is debited, revenue account is credited.
So receivable amount is debited. So we have paid.
We are supposed to be getting from the customer. So that's the receivable account.
Okay.
And
And
it is against our revenue. But tax amount is not our revenue. It is supposed to be paid to the government. So only the amount that we have generated in the line, that
Mm-hmm.
is in the revenue part.
So when the tax amount will be shown as a debit from our end, because when you pay to government, right?
Correct, correct.
So which is that process take care of that?
That that is usually done either in payables or in you pay it to the government through the check or through vouchers, and then you can enter the GL in a direct journal in GL also to nullify the tax.
Okay. So now this accounting lines is at only the sub-ledger level. We are not going to GL.
Correct, correct.
So when we make an entry with the GL,
Hmm.
so this account number will be accounting lines number will be taken care of, is it? The same account number 10 dot
Yes,
whatever the
yes,
segment.
yes, yes. So we'll do that next. So this was, we had done it in draft mode, and then we can transfer post to ledger also.
Okay.
So once we do post to ledger, this will go all the way to general accounting. Okay.
So
Now,
is everything is manual, is it here? In sense, for example, I have around 1,000 transactions. For every 1,000 transactions, I need to click on generating accounting lines and post to GL. Is there any process
yeah, yeah,
defined?
there is a, yeah, yeah, same accounting process is there. You can run the
Okay.
accounting process, it will take care of.
Okay. So it will always look for the transactions which is complete.
Correct. So even this, usually the processes when invoices are generated, they are generated in bulk, right? Only large companies will be using these softwares. So they have, so many hundreds, thousands of invoices generated. So there, in most cases, they have another custom software from or other system where those invoices are generated, or they can get it from order management also in Fusion, and then through the auto invoice process they will transfer all the invoices into, dump them into receivables. And once your invoice is generated, you can also see your invoice that you are going to send to your customer. You click on the view image and the invoice will be seen.
Which one? Which part?
Once we click on this view image, you can see this
Okay, view image.
button
Okay.
behind.
Okay. Okay. So this will be enabled only after which step then?
Once your invoice is completed with this
You are breaking, Saurabh. Saurabh, you are breaking.
once your invoice is completed, that is when
Mm-hmm.
you will want to see your completed invoice, that as a image.
Okay. Probably I didn't notice that as soon as you made the invoice complete, I didn't see this image.
See here,
Yeah.
behind the scene, my invoice got generated.
Okay.
You can see this.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a salesperson, so the salesperson name is
Commission
there.
is not defined.
Yeah.
Is that commission? Is that say the salesperson name or the commission for salesperson?
Name. They will not show the commission here right away on the invoice.
Yeah, that's why sorry. Yeah. Generally, it will not happen.
It will only show the name.
Correct.
So that was our invoice that we generated, and we can cancel this. Now, against this, if you click here, you can see review the customer account details from here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you click on customer account details, you will be taken to this particular page where you can look at the customer.
So meanwhile, sorry to ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you mean by charge account?
Charge account basically means the account into which you are going to do the accounting.
Okay.
So it will be hitting that particular account.
Okay.
So see, this is the total open receivables. Means so far you are supposed to, this is what is receivable from your customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is what is the total transaction. This is past due. That means this is outside his payment terms. So rest of the invoices could be within the payment terms, like within 30 days, within 60 days. But the so much worth of invoices is beyond his dues. He should have
So what
paid
is the
it.
count? Is count is the number of invoices?
Yes, total
Well,
number of invoices, total number of transactions. And this one
yeah,
like we are
sorry.
talking about transactions. Okay. And so out of 30 invoices, 12 of them are past due. And when you look at these activities here, it will show you the individual transactions total.
Mm-hmm.
What is right now, this is the one which is receivable. So this is the one which is available, total transaction due. Or this is the dates, right, between this date and this date. So suppose you want to change the date from for the past 1 year, you want to see what are the total dues. Okay. So individual transactions, you can click and see those transactions, and you can see what is the original amount, what is the current amount, what is the past due amount. It might have happened that, in the past, you had generated an invoice, but the customer had sent back certain items. So he thinks that, nothing is due from him. But in your books of account, it is showing everything is due.
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases also, you might have to go back and do some rectification. Or, a lot of times what happens, customer sends back, credit memo is not generated. You remember, we may have certain issues with Amazon, Flipkart, the charges, we return it, they don't record it. Although once our account is created, we are happy with our money has come back. Right? Suppose there was a wrong item that they had shipped.
Mm-hmm.
So after we raise a query, or we tell them that, hey guys, I ordered a pen, but you have sent me a pencil. So they will say, okay, our person will go and check. If that is true, we'll take it back. So they come collect the item back. And what you are looking for is a refund, and he will refund that pen amount, let's say 200 rupees, back into your credit card account. You have paid by credit card, so they refund it. Once your amount comes in, that 200 rupees, you are happy that your account has been credited back. You have no further dues and you forget about it. Right? But in their books of account, they may not have updated it at all.
Okay.
They may not have recorded that that item has been sent back to you. The guy who collected it here, he kept it here. He never told the company there that I have collected it. So
Okay.
many gaps happen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because of those, there could be certain disputes. So there may be a disputed amount also in the column here.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say we have this particular transaction here, with the one we entered today.
Mm-hmm.
So this was our transaction, and we have the actions here. So from the actions, you can view the image, you can view the balance detail, you can view the accounting, you can view the installments, view transaction detail activities. Okay. And if you want to look at the payment customer details, you see them here, invoice lines, distributions, you can see all of them here from that view itself. So that is a view. So anybody who is given access to that particular screen, they cannot do any other transactions on that account from here. Okay. Now, in case you want to do any adjustments or you
Mhm.
want to do any disputes, you can come here and you can click on dispute, or you want to view any adjustments, you can click here and view them. These are the adjustments that are here. Suppose you want to create an adjustment here, you have to click on create, and there is a receivable activity. Okay. So
Mhm.
this adjustment is maybe there was some incorrect entries, maybe some things that the customer did not ask for, or some things that a customer wants back. Okay. So it could be a part of the amount also. So in that case, you can raise, let's say, fret, and you can say what type. This is charges, fret adjustment. You have tax adjustment also. Let's say sometimes what happens, the material has been sent in a bad shape. Customer is furious that my material has got uh, damaged. So in that case, I will have to give him some credit. So right now, this person doesn't have the approval limit set on this. So this has been recorded, but it is not yet approved. It's saying pending approval.
So, one question I have here. When you are trying to adjust, let's just click on done, please. Go to the previous screen because I wanted to see that the drop
Screen,
down
yeah.
list. Just go back to adjust again because there was so many list of values.
Oh, that list of
Adjustment, yeah, yeah.
receivable
You're breaking. You're
activities.
breaking. Saurabh, you're breaking. Hello.
This one.
Hello. Saurabh, you're breaking. I can't hear you now.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
See now,
Yeah.
take
Tell
this
me.
transaction, what we created, $4078.20. Okay. Can you hear me?
Mhm. Yes, I can.
So it has been posted to GL, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
No, we did. We did.
It has got.
You're
No,
breaking,
we
Saurabh. You're
we
breaking.
only send the
Saurabh, I can't hear you.
invoice. We didn't send
Saurabh, you're
the
breaking.
adjustment.
Hello.
Hello.
Saurabh, you're breaking.
Hello. Can
Yeah,
you
I
hear
can.
me?
It's better.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me what you were saying.
Now we created one transaction of $4,000, right? Then we created accounting, sub accounting, and accounting also, right? Posted to GL also, right?
Correct.
Now the customer will come back. I want the complete refund.
Hmm.
Okay. In that case, you still go to adjustment and do a transaction. How do you do that in that case? So because my entry should be not deleted, basically, negated in the GL now, right? When I do
Correct.
a refund.
Correct. Correct.
So
So
can we see that how it we do?
I will show you. You just
Yeah,
for now, what I have shown you is part of the amount was adjusted.
correct.
Okay. For now, what I did, if you go to this adjustment, only part of this account has got debited. So this is the transaction distribution. It will go and hit this particular distribution saying that freight account will be debited. So that much $100 worth of the freight account will be reversed.
So that will hit the transaction entry also in the GL directly.
Yes, yes, it will hit
You
once you
need
do
not.
the transfer.
No, you need not post it again or what?
No, this adjustment will again need to be posted.
Okay, that's what I.
Okay,
Yeah.
step by step it will be posted.
So everything is same then, right? Any transaction you create, like an
Absolutely
adjustment or the payment, whatever.
correct.
So you need to create a sub ledger accounting and accounting lens.
Yes, yes,
Okay. So everything is treated as a transaction now.
correct. Now, this was one of the things that we did, that was adjustment. Okay. Now, in some cases, what is done is we also create what we call as a
Saurabh,
credit.
can you give me 2 minutes? I'll be back. 2 minutes.
Okay, okay,
I'll not take more than that.
okay, not a problem. এই সাদা ফোনটা চার্জে বসানো, সাদাটা ওই ঘরে চার্জে বসিয়ে দাও।
Yes, Saurabh.
All right. So what we saw was adjusting an invoice.
Correct.
Okay. Now the more robust way of doing this is adjustment is usually when you are only waiving off part of the invoice amount or something which is not related to the main service or product that for which you have sold. Okay, so it could be maybe the freight charges or small changes that you have done. So all those things you may or may not use them. Okay, depending on your scenario, both things are available to you. One is creating a credit memo, other one is creating adjustments. Okay, next we'll see how we create a credit memo against our invoice. For that, we will go into this and you will see there is credit transaction here. Okay, so when you click on credit transaction, it will first ask you for what is your original transaction number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I forgot
So
the original transaction
this
number.
is to reverse the transaction now.
Correct, correct. So
It was somewhere 4,000 series. It was.
let's go by date. Oh, these are incomplete ones.
Can't we pull it from the list of values prompt button?
Yeah, we can do that. I'm also doing just that. I'm looking at the customer, and against that customer, I'm looking at his transactions. So 45767. This was the one, right? 45767.
Yeah.
45767. So we now go to credit transaction and 45767, and then once we, you can
You're breaking, Saurabh.
click on this search amount, or you can press specify how much you are going to credit.
Okay.
So maybe tax you will do the entire amount as credit, and this one credit percentage here, maybe you will do 50. So
So,
based on that, you will get this 50% line, 50% tax. So total 50% of your invoice is being waived off. Got it?
okay.
So you have 50% line amount, and correspondingly system has done the entire thing. Or you could just click credit entire balance.
Okay.
If you do this credit entire balance, an entire 100% is being waived off. So the remaining balance becomes zero on this account. Got it? You may want to give everything or maybe 50%. Let's
Mm-hmm.
keep it 50% for now, so that we will be
Mm-hmm.
able to have that invoice also. And then you can say complete and close. Again, if I want to now review that particular transaction, I go to manage transactions, 45767, 45767. See
You're breaking, Saurabh.
the
You're breaking.
invoice
Hello.
transaction number. Yeah, I'm not speaking anything. You see this? Now only the 50% amount is, this was the original transaction, 45767. Okay. And how much? This was the original one, right?
Correct.
Again, against this, if I want to look at the balance details of this account, I will click view balance details, and it will show me so much amount has been credited. So this particular screen gives me an entire summary of all the transactions that have happened on this particular transaction.
So, in that case, initially we paid a complete amount. Later, it was credited back half of the amount to us, right?
Hmm.
Or how
Correct.
it is?
Correct. Initially, he
We
didn't pay.
received.
If he had paid, this
Sorry.
receipt should have come up. We raised
Okay.
an invoice. We sent
Mm-hmm.
him. We sent him the material also. He sent
Okay.
back 50%. for which we gave him the credit.
Okay.
So now his net outstanding is $2,039.
Okay.
So that is what was showing up on my original transaction, right? But I may want to see that transaction also for my customer. So I will go and say review customer account details, and I will search for my customer. And see, it is showing me the credit memo also,
Mm-hmm.
45768.
Correct.
So on this screen, I can see all activities relating to my customer.
Okay. So once the credit memo is issued and we try to post it to GL, it looks for the similar entries which was posted earlier and try
Correct,
to compensate.
correct. Now we will go and pull up our credit memo and we can do the accounting individually, or I'll show you how we run the process also. We can
Okay.
see this is the accounting and we can click on create accounting.
Mm-hmm.
So this will run the create accounting process.
Okay.
So what do you want to see for which ledger? Let's say it is the US primary ledger. What mode do you want to do? Create accounting, and it is in final or draft mode. Final. Do you want to transfer to GL? Do you want to post to GL? Yes. So all these parameters, once you set it to yes, see here they are not asking you whether you want to, what type of categories and all these things that you have here, different categories, what you want to transactions. So it will only do the transactions. If you leave it blank, it will pick up everything. Otherwise, if you just want to do the transactions, you can just pick up the transactions.
What is that end date? It's a period end date.
Till what date it will pick up all transactions. So usually when we run these processes, we'll run it not for one day or for 2 days, maybe once a week. We can run it every day also. We can schedule the process to run on its own at night, and it will create all your accounting, and it will be ready next day. Once we do this, we can submit it.
So the maximum filter you can do is for the ledger, transaction, and the date.
Correct. And whether you want to do this accounting mode final or draft, we'll do final. Posting, you may not post directly to GL. You may say that I want to review it
Mm-hmm.
in GL and then take it forward. In companies, what happens, there are separate people who look after GL, there is another person who looks after AR. So the person who transfers from AR, he may transfer and leave it in GL for the person in GL to review and then
Mm-hmm.
post it to GL. In GL also you have a process to run the posting. So the guy in GL will, who is in charge of GL, he'll submit that and run it.
So this is the final accounting line generation, not the sub ledger level, right?
Correct, correct.
So for sub ledger level, also, we do have any such process or manual?
No, no, this one it will create it in subledger and transfer it in GL. So
Okay.
it is a two in one.
So when you say draft, again it will create or how it will work.
Yes, draft means it is only within subledger.
But subledger accounting is created, but it will not create any transaction in GL, but it will create as a draft.
It will create only, yes, in subledger as draft. When you say final, that is when it will create the final, it will generate and it will transfer over to GL.
Okay. So when we do a draft, how the I know that accounting lines will not be generated, but it will how the field mapping will occur internally, how it will be shown to user for review.
The accounting, you mean the debit and credit?
Yes, yes.
We saw that na receivable revenue. That is how it will be shown
Okay, but it will not make an entry, right?
in draft mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will not make an entry.
Okay. In both the case, subledger and general.
Correct.
Okay.
In draft mode, it doesn't go to ledger at all.
Yeah. Oh, it will limit in subledger only.
Yes, in draft mode.
Okay.
It is just for intern for your own review.
Okay.
If you are happy, then only you will run it in final. Usually draft, what happens initially, people run it first couple of weeks, maybe after go live. After that, once they realize everything is going fine, it's not always possible to run draft for every transaction review, and then it looks great, but it is very painstaking. So
Okay.
users normally, once they get used to, they see that yeah, a couple of transactions are coming out fine, they will just let it go through directly. So we are now in general accounting. Okay, so we are going to see the journals. Santosh, you followed. We are in general accounting now.
Yes, yes, yes.
So in general accounting, everything is journals. We say that. So we click on manage journals. So it would have created in current period. So we'll say search and 0620. So these are all the transactions that have come in. See the credit memo,
Mm-hmm.
miscellaneous receipts, everything for this period. Okay, for the primary ledger. So it shows what is the category. Now, if I want to look at this particular transaction,
This is the one we created.
See, our original amount was 4078. Then we had reversed 50% of it. Got it? Now, if I want to look at the original transaction, I can click on this line, okay, and it tells me it's a credit memo. Santosh, are
We
you there?
cannot see the original transaction, is it?
Yeah. No, this is in, still we are in GL only. To look at the original transaction, this is the view transaction here.
No. What I'm saying is, very first time before creating a create memo, we created some accounting lines, right?
Oh,
That we
okay,
can't see
okay.
those.
No, this is not that one. That one
No,
is this one.
but we can still see that, right?
Yeah, yeah, here, this
Okay,
one.
okay, okay.
See this 4078? And when you click on this, transaction type invoice, and then when we click on this, we will see what is the current status. So if you want to look at the view transaction, this is the force for this now is from receivables. This is the 45768, the invoice, the credit memo. Sorry, not the invoice, the credit memo. Got it? If you want to look at the balance details, transaction activities from here, you can again look at that. So this is a view to show you what are the things that are there. Got it?
Yes, sir.
These are the tax lines. This is the actual amount. So when you click on this, you will see this is the actual amount of your credit note. So these are the revenue receivables. These are the different accounts that get hit. And this one 2039, this is the invoice against this particular invoice 45767. So when I click on this transaction, this is the credit memo. Let me look at the invoice. Where is the invoice?
So, what are the challenges you see? We have a transaction AR, okay,
Yeah,
and someone has gone directly and made a manual entry in the GL. Is it possible to do like that?
yeah.
In that case, what challenges you see? Because there's no subledger accounting lines.
Yes, that's a big. What happens is it throws the two systems out of sync, which
Correct.
is not a recommended step.
Sometimes it may happen because business users won't know entire
Ah,
business process.
no, business users actually they knowingly do it.
Okay.
First of all, business users, anybody who doesn't need access to GL will never get access to it or
Mm-hmm.
should not get access to it, right? Only if it is my work related, I should get access to it.
Correct.
And it is work related means it is my duty to know what I should be putting in and what I should not be putting in.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? So moment I do those kind of things, it means that I'm knowingly putting in a journal entry directly in GL without putting it in receivables. People
So,
do that a lot just to take care of the month end processes or for balancing purposes and all that.
I know, but what challenges we face?
That's one major challenge, that receivables and GL is out of whack. So they don't tally. So one should not be doing that. But it becomes very difficult end of the month now, when there is hundreds of things to be done. They will
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, what the heck, let me just go and do it.
So, in that case, let's assume that we found such one entry for a transaction where it has been posted directly to GL,
Hmm.
but not in the subledger accounting lines.
Hmm.
In that case, how do we take the reference of the same accounting line generated there?
You won't be able to do it. If you find something in GL which is not in AR, you cannot
Mm-hmm.
tie it back to AR. You have to reverse it in GL, go and put it in receivable, and then again transfer it to GL.
Okay,
That
that's what
is
I was
the
looking
right
for.
way of doing it.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay.
Most people say, "Arey yaar, chodo, let's tally it and complete the process for this month." And why we discourage those kind of things is, moment they do that, na, they will forget in the following month to reverse it. The previous one that we were seeing, that was our credit memo. Now see, this is the sales invoice that got
Okay.
generated.
Okay. Now I'm still in the GR. So when you're trying to reverse the entries in the GL, is there any status where you should not do
You should
any,
not do.
or like like the entries in the GL? For example, you're doing it for the previous year because the year has closed. Can you do that?
No, no. In that case, you should not be doing.
Okay. Because I don't know much on accounting, so all the dumb questions will come. So
No,
sorry.
no problem. You are welcome to ask. So see, okay. Now here you see, this was our original invoice 4078. See, the category here is sales invoice.
Mm-hmm.
If you recollect, a few minutes back, with what we were seeing was the credit memo.
Correct.
Now this is the original invoice. So when I click on that invoice, this is the invoice created. Initially, when we created that invoice, this is the transaction number, originating number. And if I click on view transaction, I'll be taken to receivables and I'll be seeing that original transaction. Got it?
Yeah.
So this was the original invoice that we created. Then we did a transfer to GL also. And then we entered a credit memo against it. And then we transferred that credit memo transaction over to GL also. And we are now reviewing all those things in GL. Now see, this is the status. This is posted. Santosh?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the one which is posted. So in case you want to, do any changes or you want to enter a fresh journal, you could do that. Okay. And depending on, how you are, what is the purpose, you can review those transactions. All of these things you are doing in GL. Got it?
Yeah.
So I come back to receivables now. So today till what time you want to do?
Another half an hour till 10:30.
10:30. Okay.
unless you don't have any appointments.
No, no, that's fine.
Because why I'm
Because
saying this, those two guys are on they're not there, right? If you cover, it
because
will
I
affect
don't
them.
want to move too much ahead also, and we can you can in the meanwhile go back
AI is
and
a big module.
yeah,
See, these are till what we covered is all the simple steps. Obviously, Amit and Rakesh will be able to understand, right?
yeah.
Or we can stop here. Not a problem for me.
No, we'll complete this transaction thing. Okay,
Yeah.
there's then we can receipts we can do in next class then.
Okay, sir. Not a problem.
Okay, yeah. So see, right now when we were doing these transactions, these there were adjustments. Right now, this particular user did not have the authority to uh, approve it, so it was not allowing. I'll log in as another user. I'll sign out. This is the implementation login actually. So I log in as a user now, and I again go to receivables, billing. So our transaction was 45767. So I will manage transactions.
What are we doing now?
I'm going to be adjusting that invoice. When we entered that adjustment last time, it said the authority, the person did not have the approval authority. So here
Mm-hmm.
you see this was our original invoice. Now there are certain adjustments to be done. So for that, I can dispute the transaction. Maybe the customer has said the material is incomplete or the material is not as per my specifications. Or I can go and give some adjustments to the customer. So for that, I can go back to this. I can specify an adjustment reason, like say refund or write off this much, and then I can submit it. And see, because I have the approval limit, it is set to approve.
Okay.
And it shows me the action history at the bottom. If I now go and look at this transaction here, balance details, see this 100 is coming under Fred because we had put it as Fred adjustment. So the total adjustment here is this. Now this adjustment, it can be positive, it can be negative. Since this is positive here, it has increased the amount.
Okay. This is balance.
Yes.
Balance.
Now it might happen that I have done it by mistake. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go back and reverse it. So I can go to manage adjustments, and see this one I can't do anything now. So what I'll have to do, I'll have to enter another adjustment. This receivable activity, I'll have to pick up freight adjustment. And this time I will create 200 worth.
Why minus 200?
because last time it was plus, right? I want to
Mhm.
take care of that. So I will say refund or charges or whatever.
No, you're trying to reverse the adjustment, right? So you need to enter the same amount.
No, what I'm trying to do is instead of reducing, last time it had increased.
Okay, got it.
Got it? So I have to now put in the double amount. So once I do this, now see it becomes approved. So minus 200 plus 100 becomes minus 100.
Correct.
So I go back, I look at this action,
Balance.
view balance.
Correct.
So this adjustment, it will not show you individual breakup. It will show you the net figure.
Okay.
Lot of times, you might have seen customers where there are a lot of invoices which are outstanding. Over a period of time, they realize they will never get this amount back.
Okay.
So in those cases, what you will have to do is you will have to go back and write it off. So in those cases, you can create a there are two ways of doing it. One, you can either create a credit memo, or you can go back and create a charge like this adjustment that we were doing, na, write off.
Okay.
So if you see here, there were manage adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
receivable activity. You could have adjustment called bad debt
Okay.
that you will never get back.
Mm-hmm.
So you can write off that entire amount also. So that adjustment amount is the remaining amount is being written off.
Okay.
I'll not save it, but I'll just, this is just for your information.
Again, the
This is what
same
you
process
follow.
needs for every transaction. The same process needs to be followed. Subledger
Correct.
accounting lines and
Yes.
generate. Okay.
These small things, what happens, we once we run that create invoice thing, na, create accounting, that will handle everything. It will transfer all the transactions.
Okay.
That's the best way to run it with a blank for the transaction type. All right. So this was as far as our regular transactions was concerned. While we are on this topic, let me just go and show you on the setup side. We talked about transaction type. The transaction type of definition is very important because your accounting transaction accounting heads are derived from there. So if I oh, manage transaction types. So when I go to manage transaction types, I can do a search. Let's say this one only one is showing up. So
I
I'll
think you need to log in as an implementer, I believe, right?
yes, yes. So see if I depending on my access, I don't have anything here, right? So I will have to log out and log back in as the implementer. So once I go to manage transaction types and I do a search, I will get all the transaction types that are defined. So against this, let's say we look at an invoice type. This is the invoice. Okay. When I click on this invoice, this is the reference data set. If it is linked to a specific legal entity, I can link it or I can leave it blank. It will apply to every legal entity. Name, description, this is the class. Okay. And transaction class, which is invoice, transaction status, and invoice. This is the corresponding credit memo. So for this type of invoice, this will be the credit memo type that will be used. So those can be linked to each other. Payment terms, and these are the accounting that you have here. Just give me a minute. Huh? Yeah, you look at this, I'll just be back. Okay, I'm back. Santosh.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah. So do you have any question on this?
No.
So the main crux of all the transactions that you see here comes from this setup. So if your transaction type is properly done, rest of the things will flow through. This all this GL accounting that you see here, these are the accounting codes. And you can reuse the same transaction for different business units as well, as and when they are linked. Like the same transaction, you can link it to multiple business units also. Only the ledger is changing here and the corresponding values are changing. Account head. See the account 311. If you go to another business unit, this is 402 now.
Okay.
And there might be certain transactions which you do not want to post to GL. In that case, you will say post to GL can be disabled also. So that those transactions will not go to GL.
So what is allow freight?
Allow freight is if you want to, like all these international shippings, na? Suppose
Mm-hmm.
companies, they are producing something in China and then they are moving this to India or some other country, there's a freight that is charged. Do you want to show that separately, or in some cases they include it in the price itself? So in that case, freight will be a separate account and there will be a separate line for freight which will get accounted into in the separate account mentioned here. At the transaction level, when you are entering your invoice, you could have a separate line for freight.
Okay.
Okay. Now from this transaction type, there is an auto accounting that is derived. So, okay, but let me, before going to auto accounting, let me show you the credit memo also. So it's almost similar. What type of transaction and what type of records, the accounting heads, payment terms, all of those are created here, recorded here. And the creation sign, see, this one will be with a negative sign. In case of invoice, it is with a positive sign. Clear?
Okay.
Now, other than invoices and credit memos, you might have other types of transactions also. For example, debit memo. Debit memo means it is a transaction which is not directly related to your line of business. For example, interest, bank charges. Okay, those things you can have it created as a separate transaction type. Got it? So it will be created separately. You can have it by different names, and those you can enter at the time of generating your, where you generate your transactions. If you are migrating some data like this PeopleSoft, see this migration. So
Mm-hmm.
these are invoices, transactions that you're migrating from another environment. Maybe the legacy was a PeopleSoft for the customer. They are now moving from PeopleSoft Financials to Fusion Financials. So you could migrate all your invoices from there. and you can create different uh, transaction types as per your need.
Okay.
One last thing before we close the session today. Uh, Based on these transaction types, there are certain accounting rules. You know, when you saw that invoice or the credit memo, the accounting rule that got generated, how did it know where to pick up from? Because we lot of times we enter different transactions at different levels, right? So for that purpose, we define the auto accounting rules, which will specify where is what. So for this, where will it pick up the receivable account from? For the US 1 business unit, 101 is constant. That means every time it will pick up the company name for US 1 business unit as 101. The line of business, account, cost center, product, these are the segments for the receivable account. It will pick up from your it will pick up from your transaction type. The transaction type we saw just now. Santosh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you following?
Yes, yes.
So for each of our account types, receivable, revenue, tax, freight, unearned revenue, unbilled receivable, all of this, the entire, all the segments of my chart of accounts has to be generated. So where will it generate it from is what we are defining in this particular accounting rule.
Okay.
In case of revenue, if you see, it is picking up from the site level. There are different options here. You can pick up from the lines, you can pick up from the salesperson, transaction type, or from the site. The other ones are picking up from the transaction type. That means when you are entering it on invoice, the transaction type which is on the invoice, it will look for the account information from there and pass it on. Is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Probably it got a bit too technical, huh?
No, no.
Okay. So this is
No,
how.
I am not getting confused, or I am not in a dilemma as I was at the payables page.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
actually, more you do, na, these things will become clear. Don't worry.
yes.
You just do these transactions on your own, and if you
Okay.
get any issues, let me know. I'm there. So more you do, na, these things will become clear for you.
Sure.
So these are the two important setups that we have on the receivable side: the transaction type and the auto accounting rule, because that is where your accounting information is derived. Okay.
Okay.
And these are the other setups. We were talking about the memo lines, remember?
Yes.
We had that drop down, ambulance fees and 1 year service contract. So this is the 1 year service contract. So it comes with a list price also. So you can put in a list price which will default. So this is how you can create your own list of values for your transactions. Okay. We'll also talk through the setups a little more. We'll run through them. Okay. Uh, Next class, we'll be talking about the receipts. That is the customer making the payments and we recording them in
Okay.
the system. Okay. So we'll stop here today.
Mhm.
You have any questions at this point of time?
No, sir.
Okay. Have a look. See if you find, if you have any questions, we can take that. So we'll
So
meet
let
on
me go to
Monday.
my,
Yeah,
let me map this to my requirement document, what I have,
sure, sure.
so that I